Once we had the flooring installed, I went ahead and ordered the cabinets. And while we were waiting on those to come in, I started working on finishing out the bathroom. I got all the hardy board up, sealed it, and installed subway tile. This ended up being a really big job and probably took about a week to complete. For the floor, I put down 1/2-inch hardy board and tiled it with some nice large format tiles. At about the time I was done with the bathroom, the cabinets came in. We got these from rtacabinetstore.com. They had a good price. We got some of their samples and we were really happy with them, so we decided to just go with them. There's a lot of options and we could have shopped around a ton, but we decided to just go with one. The cabinets went together really quickly. I just stapled and glued them together. This is my first time putting together ready to assemble cabinets, but I found some good videos and it was actually pretty easy. I think I put them all together in 2 days. So I'm working on the countertop for our island here. We decided to go with a butcher block countertop for the kitchen, mainly just because it's really affordable. So yeah, this island piece is going to be 81 inches or so, and then we want it to come out 3 feet. So it's going to overhang these cabinets about 1 foot. And you can only buy these pieces in 25 inches wide. They make a island countertop piece that's a little bit wider, but it wasn't long enough for our needs. So we decided just to buy 2 of these, glue them together. That's how I did it on the last house. So the issue you run into when trying to glue these together is that the edges aren't perfectly straight. You can see there's a pretty decent gap in the middle and they're touching on the ends. So I found a pretty good trick to fix this issue, and basically all you do is you set up a track saw, or you could set up some kind of guide rail for a normal skill saw. Anyways, you set up your track saw, you push them together like this, and you align it to where you're going to cut perfectly down this seam where they meet. And I may have to do it in 2 passes because I think that might be a little bit wider than my blade. So yeah, you just cut straight down this, push them back together, make that cut again, and it should make 2 exact like mirror images, each of these pieces, and they should be able to come together perfectly. Or at least that's how it worked on my last one, so we'll see how it goes. All right, so that looks a lot better as far as it being straight, but I just put a new blade on this track saw, and I think it's maybe too thin because it seems like it's getting some movement. The stock blade that was on it was a little bit thicker, and I think it needs to be thicker on this track saw so that there's no, movement in the blade as you're cutting through different densities and stuff. I'm guessing. So I'm gonna try putting the other blade back on and see if I can get rid of some of this blade movement. Make another pass. All right, so that looks much cleaner. I think that's good enough. It's pretty tight. I think by the time you add some glue and clamp this thing together, it'll be pretty seamless. I went ahead and cut the pieces down a little bit closer to their final size. And then I used the biscuit joiner, and I think I did biscuits every 6 inches or so. And then I spread on way more glue than I probably needed and started clamping them up. All right, I've got that all glued and clamped together. I'm gonna let it sit overnight, and tomorrow I should be able to sand it, and I'll probably go ahead and do the cutout for the sink. So over here, I've already got those two pieces of countertop cut. I just need to do a little radius on the edges, but I'll do that all at the same time. The only other countertop I need to make is over here. This is gonna be like our little coffee nook, so I just need a piece to go across here, and that'll be all the countertops. All right, so I've got all the clamps off, the glue set up for pretty much over the weekend. I've gone ahead and sanded, and I ended up using the bottom side. The joint was a lot tighter. On the bottom, the cut wasn't perfect, so whenever I clamped it under a lot of pressure in certain spots, it just barely opened up. And it's not much at all. It probably would have been fine, but this side was a lot tighter. So I just decided to use this side. It still looks good too. But yeah, there was a little bit of, because these weren't perfectly flat, there was a tiny bit of variation kind of in the middle. So I took a power planer and kind of went at this angle on its lowest setting. And it did dig in a couple spots. But after I sanded it all smooth, I got rid of all the marks, and this is a lot flatter. I tried just sanding down where it was sticking up with just the sander, but you could kind of feel a little bit of a dip. So with the planer, I kind of took down a bigger area and then sanded that, and now feels a lot flatter. Feels perfectly smooth. So yeah, next up I just need to cut it to its final length. Just need to take about 1 inch off. And I've got it marked out to have the sink cut out. We're doing a overmount sink. On our last house, I did a undermount sink with a butcher block, and it looked good, but on this inside edge, the end grain, we were having problems with just a little bit of water getting under the finish and starting to turn gray in a couple spots. And I even used an epoxy on the inside to seal the end grain, but it still ended up absorbing a little bit of moisture. So we're gonna do an overmount sink, and I think it'll protect the butcher block a lot better. For the finish, I'm using minwax wipe-on polyurethane. It's really easy to apply. It's pretty much impossible to mess up as long as you're doing thin coats. We had this in our last house, and it held up really well. So I've got the sink installed, and I'm working on running the plumbing right now. So because I didn't install any of the plumbing before I put this island in place, I've been able to kind of tuck it into the side and basically put it exactly where I want it. Since I have good access to under the house, doing it this way made a lot of sense. And I think it made for a lot cleaner install so far. That way we'll have quite a bit of cabinet space open under here. So I just have the drain coming down to a P-trap. And then for the vent, it goes up and does a 90. So yeah, I just gotta run some water over here and then finish tying the this plumbing into my main drain underneath the house, and then we'll have a working sink. So this is our small mechanical room / laundry room. We've got all the plumbing hooked up, and we've just got a small tankless water heater in here. This is an 18 kilowatt heater, and it's been good for our needs so far. This is my main water coming in. I've got it coming in and it goes through a pressure regulator, and then I have a gauge here. Keep an eye on that. And then before it comes into all my filters and stuff, this line runs up to some water hoses. And then I have it going through a spin down filter, which catches some of the bigger sediment and stuff before it goes down into this 3-stage filter. And I probably need to change the sediment filter. It's looking kind of nasty. But this one has been in here maybe a month now, maybe a little more. But the water has been coming out pretty brown here. I guess there's a lot of iron and sediment in the water. You can see a lot of sediment down there. But then it goes through two other filters, a carbon and a KDF filter. And we've been drinking the water, so it tastes good. And then it comes up into my little distribution area here. I tried to do as many home runs as I could, so there's not a lot of fittings just like hidden away up in the floor there. And yeah, I haven't had any issues so far. I was able to sneak the washer and dryer in here. Originally we were going to put it in this other room, but we decided to save some space and try to get them in here. I wasn't really sure if these were going to work out down here because we are below the septic tank. You can see it there. I was able to put the drain up high enough to where I was able to just sneak by with about an 1/8 inch of drop. That's the vent line going up, but this wraps around that way, and it's just a very slight drop all the way over here to the main drain line. Seems to be draining fine. I didn't know a washer could do this, but it can pump up to 8 foot. So I guess they do that for basements and stuff like that. So I just got a longer drain line, and yeah, it's been pumping it all the way up there, and it's been running fine. So I still have a few things left to do in here. Finish out this wall and close that one up. Finish out the ceiling. And then yeah, out here this is going to be closed off with a little entry door here. So currently I'm working on finishing out the basement down here. Got it all framed out. I'm about to do the sheathing. I'm working on the decks, trying to finish up all the handrails, and should be hopefully able to stain those pretty soon. And yeah, working on a few other small things, just trying to keep chipping away at it. But that's going to be it for this video, guys, so we will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.